What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and in this age of discussing wild imbalance in 10th edition 40k and house rules for specific communities, let's change tack a little bit and talk about something totally different and definitely stupid. As always, if you enjoy my Warhammer 40k content, please go ahead and like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I really appreciate it. And let's talk about Warhammer 40k having regional formats. Warhammer 40k is a game with a lot of different units in it, and there are like 1,000 data sheets in the game or something like that across all of the different factions. And that gets even crazier when you consider that all of those different factions have different versions in different languages. Warhammer community supports and has downloads for 8 different download sections. So really, when we're talking about the individual datasheet cards, there's something around 7,000 of them. And getting those all precisely correct over the entirety of the game is probably a Herculean feat that cannot be expected of the likes of mortal men. Which is why we're going to be talking about today some hilarious idiosyncrasies between different datasheets in different languages. Big shout out to the Warhammer 40k Reddit community for pointing some of these out because they are very funny. The first example we have are Tyranids, who have different defensive stat lines if you elect to play them using German data cards. The Screamer Killer Carnifex, for example, goes up to an impressive toughness of 10, a toughness that I thought it had for a long time for no reason. That is a pretty important toughness breakpoint because it stops strength 9 weapons from wounding it on 4. So things like multi-meltas have a lot tougher time punching through the thick hide of the Screamer Killer. It does trade off for that additional toughness, however, by being reduced down to 8 wounds. Similarly, the Winged Tyranid Prime has also traded some of its wounds for additional toughness, reducing itself down to 5 wounds, but in exchange for a 6th toughness. This one significantly less impactful given the fact that the Winged Tyranid Prime is garbage. And also, it's in part of a unit, so it's most likely not going to be attacked. But I guess if you're playing it in smaller games and it's all by itself, it might be pretty useful to have that additional toughness value. Now, Death Guard players have been bemoaning the power level of their index for a very long time. But what if I told you that all you needed to do was play it in Spanish? That's right, if you were only to include the Spanish version of the Miasmic Malignifier, the fortification for Death Guard that normally isn't that useful, just gives units -1 to be hit if they're wholly within 6 inches of it, which is already kind of a difficult criteria to achieve. But it also has a little 6-inch range ignore cover torrent weapon. Now this Noxious Stink is only strength 3, AP 0, for 1 damage, but if you were to replace that Noxious Stink with the Hedor Novico of the Malignificar Miasmico, it will in fact shoot 21 d6 attacks. Oh my God! That's an average of, I don't know, like 70 shots at strength 3, AP 0 for 1 damage. Honestly, still not even going to do that much damage because it's only strength 3, AP 0. They could have made this thing 100 d6, and I still think the Miasmic Malignifier is probably unplayable garbage. But it does give you a lot of dice to roll, and what are we here to do in 40k if not roll a ton of dice? That said, if you are playing in France, you are probably not here to roll a ton of dice because your models will most likely be dead before you get there. That may be because you're playing against a Chaos Space Marine army that just will elect not to fail its Dark Pact tests. Now, I'm not a native French speaker here, so I'm taking the word of some users on Reddit, but I did plug in the French verbiage for the Dark Pacts rule into Google Translate, and it does make it fairly clear that you can elect to roll your leadership check after you perform a Dark Pact. This is the Chaos Space Marine special ability where they can empower themselves, but with demonic influence for the chance that they take mortal wounds after their attacks are resolved. But not if they are from France. Because in that case, they'll just choose not to make their check, and therefore they have no chance of taking mortal wounds. They just get to Dark Pact for free, basically. Pretty sweet. I think if you're Abaddon, you would probably still have to take your leadership check because he has to pass his check to get command points back from his special ability. But anyone else, just don't do it, you know? I've decided I don't feel like it today. I'm not going to take any mortal wounds. Thank you very much, sir. And this can't even be helped if they're charging at you, because according to the French core rules of the game, the active player, the player whose turn it is, always chooses the first attacker in every step of the fight phase. So even having defensive effects like always strike first in close combat, which would allow you to theoretically swing before your opponent, according to the English core rules, that is. However, if your opponent brought a copy of the French core rulebook, that is not, in fact, how it works. Their unit is going to get to swing first. So you better hope you're not playing Custodes or Death Guard or another faction that's relying on always strikes first to defend yourself against incoming attacks, because that French player you might run up against in a tournament is just going to blow you off the table. Editing Trevi here. This section is based on a comment from a French speaker who's discussing this issue. I went to go verify it and could not find in the PDF document available on the French Warhammer community site a clause that matches the one that they're quoting. So I think that this issue exists in the print copy of the French core rules, not the PDF version. That may have been updated after the fact, but I don't have a way to verify that. Just wanted to throw that little addendum in there. Now, with, like I mentioned, something around 6,000 or 7,000 data sheets between 8 different languages in Warhammer community, plus all of the core rules and stuff like that, having to be translated, I'm sure there are a lot more typos like this. And if you're aware of any, let me know down in the comment section. Honestly, we can't really blame Games Workshop too much for having this. It's just a staggering amount of content to have to generate, and I'm sure errors are going to sleep through the cracks as they will in any situation. Fortunately, this is a digital format. The indexes can be updated very quickly, and we don't have to worry about those making their way further on into the game. It is unfortunate, however, if you have like a French copy of the core rules, and you may be up for a sharp surprise and somebody tells you that your rules actually don't work the way that they say they do in the book. That's unfortunate. Classic GW, am I right? But anyway, that's all I have to talk about today. Just a little bit of a funny video pointing out some funny idiosyncrasies and mistranslations between the many languages supported by Games Workshop's games. To be fair, it is great that Warhammer 40k supports so many languages. Not a lot of games actually do that. They'll usually stick to a single language. But, you know, Warhammer 40k is a global game, and it's cool that we can bring more people from around the world into it. We just gotta proofread a second time sometimes. So big thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Thanks as well to everybody who supports the channel, either over on Patreon at patreon.com/TacticalTortoise, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subscribers. All you people are great and I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.